Hello, hello, everyone. Hi, Facebook. Hi, YouTube. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's so good to see you today. We are here today with my brother in law, Bryce, and my niece, Ellie. They are sitting in for Renee. Right now, she's in Chicago teaching her class for mental health, her very first one. So, congratulations, Renee. We can't wait to hear how it went out there, and hopefully you're enjoying yourself and your class is going great. So I'm super excited though to have two of my favorite people here with me. Bryce, introduce yourself. Tell the people who you are. How was your week?
My name is Bryce Love. I am her brother-in-law for 2 years now, and I've been her father for 2 years now. And what do they want? You guys want a fun fact?
Yeah, do a fun fact.
Fun fact. I do a lot of mud races, and one of my favorite things to do to pass time is work out.
Yeah, he loves working out, y'all. He's a workout person. What about you, Ellie? Introduce yourself. Give us a fun fact.
Hello, I'm Eleonora. I'm her niece for 15 years, his daughter for 2 years. Fun fact about me, I love to shop. It's my favorite thing ever. And that's it.
Well, good. Well, Ellie and Bryce, thank you for joining me today and sitting in for Renee. So let's kick off our fire topic for today. So Ellie gave me quite a bit of them, but the one I'm going to use to encompass them all is, so, we always talk about the difference between our day and your day for this generation. Do you find that it's easier? Do you think that it's easier being a Christian in this day and hour, especially with everything that you have with social media and like the clothing choices and even your mental health? Do you find that that's easier for you? Do you guys think it's easier for you in this day and time, or is it a little harder?
I would say it would be, to me, it's a little bit harder because, like you said, since we have social media now, we have a lot more influences that might not go with Christian values. Like, you might have people online telling you that being a Christian isn't as cool, or you're weird for following some random guy in the sky. So I believe that for me personally, while I don't find those influences to be strong, it is very hard to fall into a space where you might not want to be Christian anymore due to all of the negativity that surrounds Christianity.
So that's interesting. Could you say, so the negativity you said is one of the things that make it harder? Is it also not, because we always say with your generation, once y'all have something, like you guys have it, it's very hard to sway you, or you guys are very determined.
Yes.
So it isn't the influences of making you unchristian as far as everything else looks cooler. It's just the persecution that comes with it, I guess you can say. Yeah. What about you? What do you think, Bryce? Do you think for them, is it easier or harder to be a young Christian kid growing up in this generation?
In terms of the influences, it's probably going to be more difficult. I think that the reason why it's more difficult is because you have the social media influences and they have access to it. So I think in order for them to be able to have the space to grow, you need to limit their interaction with social media. Because there's a lot of competition when it comes to being a parent in the space for raising Christian value children. And a lot of the competition generally only comes from social media. I mean, we spend 8 hours away from them every day going to school throughout the school year. And usually throughout the summer, they're not really involved in any type of activity that's related to empowering their faith. And so one way to combat that is by having a lot of heavy involvement. So I mean, you guys already know that we kind of do a lot of things with Ellie. And you do a lot of things with Ellie. Her grandma does a lot of things with her. to keep her around that type of environment, so that she doesn't sway too far from it. She's doing small things here and there that are keeping her actively aware of that environment, and I think those things contribute to combat the negative influences that social media might have, because yeah, it could potentially be uncool in many spaces to be like, oh yeah, I'm Christian, and you can't really openly talk about it. Because then people will start looking at you weird, because it's weird bringing up Christianity and your religious background without having to make people feel as if you're trying to encourage them to become Christians. So yeah, I'd say it's more difficult, and I think that a lot of parental guidance and involvement is required this day and age because of the impact of social media, for sure. And we didn't grow up with that. I definitely didn't grow up with that. We didn't have social media as prominent. I mean, we had Facebook and MySpace.
Yeah.
That was it. And YouTube was just kind of popping at back in the 2010s and stuff like that. We had MTV and BET. That was it. We didn't have nothing to influence us but those 3-minute videos, and that was all we had. So we had a lot more control over what we were influenced by, and no one could tell us, oh yeah, being a Christian isn't cool. It's just what we were told that it was, what we needed to follow, and we stayed in it.
Yeah. No, I think you had a good point there where you talked about how we were told what to follow, and that was it. Like, we didn't have to, we had the outside noise of peers, but because we were in church so much, or because I feel like my mom was she was very, I won't say controlling, but she did police a lot of what we goes into, and it's so hard, I feel like, as parents with social media to police like you need to. Like, they do have a lot better apps, I feel like, and like things of that nature to like kind of give you guys some kind of control, some kind of oversight, but that's also the hard part, is the oversight part of it. Like, how do you control or make sure your kid's only exposed to something at this time? Because you got your tablet here, you got your phone here, you have laptop, and then just like you said, they have YouTube now and Twitch and all these other apps you have to worry about, and that doesn't even count what they get at school, because they use computers all the time at school. Like, it's not books anymore. Do y'all use books anymore?
No, they have a Chromebook, and they still use books too.
We have books for some classes, but all the stuff that you can find in the books, you can find on a website online.
On a website online. Yeah, so they don't even use the books like we used to anymore. Like, encouraging that part of reading. Like, I think that's one of the things I love about Ellie. She still loves to read when she has the time. She'll sit down and she'll get a book or a Kindle and sit down and read versus just straight streaming or watching anything. So I think that's something, like, I most definitely agree to. Like, you guys have it a little bit harder because you have a lot more you have to filter through. A lot more noise that you have to filter through that we didn't have. And I feel like also, like, for me, we had a voice that was louder than the noise. So I always had my mom where her voice was louder than everyone outside. And so it was easy for me to kind of filter through, whereas you guys have so many, like we said, competing voices with these different social medias. And then the bullying and the people trying to control what you guys are saying or what you watch, or trying to influence you, your little high school influencers. Yeah.
I know for sure that a lot of the things I see online when I go through and I come across an atheist, I see a lot of, they didn't want to be Christian because it's people have made it seem like it's a very strict religion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't wear this if you're a Christian. You can't talk to this person if you're a Christian. You can't be friends with this person if you're a Christian. If you're a Christian, you have to wake up at 7 a.m. and read your Bible for 5 hours before you do anything. It's made out to be a very strict religion where you have barely any freedom without having somebody from the church judge you, or having somebody tell you that, oh, God is going to shun you and you're going to go to hell because you just looked at this book or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's made out to be very
Persecuted.
Yes. So that's what I see a lot of complaints with Christianity, and a lot of it really pushes people away instead of pushing people forward, because so many people focus on the rules of Christianity instead of the benefits that you can get from Christianity, and the the self improvement you can gain with Christianity. Instead, they focus on how if you eat pork, then you've sinned.
Mm. So basically, you're saying they focus a lot more on the legalistic part in all the rules of regulations versus letting our message be about the love of Christ.
Yes.
Like a lot of people we're not stressing or telling people about how Jesus loves them, how he died on the cross for them. And really what they don't understand is a lot of those rules and regulations, it comes naturally because the Holy Spirit leads you into those things. It's not something, it's something you want to do, but you come in 100% that come as you are is for coming as you are and let the Holy Spirit do the work. It's not just about all the rules and regulations that you see.
Yes.
So, well, that's good. That is a very good conversation. Thank you both for answering the question, which leads us right into our topic, which we wanted to talk about. How do we equip you guys as Christian kids? How do we make sure that you are ready for the world? How do we make sure that you watching a video doesn't make you say, forget God, he sucks, or, Jesus is not Lord of my life anymore. And even like things that you think have, like, I want to focus a little bit on you as a youth in this day, like, because you just come out of school. How was getting out? How is it gonna free to be free? At least what she got 2 weeks before she go to camp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
It feels good. I'm happy I'm out of school. The last day was very fun. Me and my friends had a really fun time.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's funny because this kind of ties into my conversation, but as teens being with Christ, but at the ending of the school day, so me and some of my friends, we played a few gospel songs to, what's the word?
Celebrate, commemorate?
Yes, to celebrate our last day of school with God. And we did a little bit of prayer too, and then we went out to lunch and did a little bit more prayer there too. So it was very fun. It does feel good to be out of school, no more waking up at 6 a.m. So I'm very happy.
Well, good. And I like Ellie's friend base because she has a lot of her friends also where they have. Is it Mercy Street that's down the street from y'all? Mercy Street that they have down the street, that a lot of them, they do a Bible study, and Ellie will stop, or she will stay after school sometime and do Bible study with her friends, or she has a friend that also does, when Ellie does a midweek youth service, she also has the same thing. So it's nice to see that you guys have a community and that you feel safe to do those kind of things at school. So what do you think has given you the confidence to be okay with doing that, to have the confidence to be different? Because that's different.
I believe that you can't set your child up to be strong with religion, but there's nothing you can really do to make them stick with it. That comes entirely within their own self. Because you can bring your child to church every single day. You can have them do Bible study for the rest of their childhood. But when they get out into adulthood, that's their decision whether or not they want to continue with that foundation that you built for them, or whether or not they want to fall off that foundation and go a whole different direction than the path that you've steered for them. I believe the most you can do for your child is helping them gain their own relationship with Christ and their own relationship with God, because if they're just going based off of your relationship with God, if they're just following you, going to church because you go to church, going to Bible study because you go to Bible study, that's not them building their own relationship. That's just them following the leadership in their life.
And I think you said a very important point. You said foundation. What does the Bible say? Train up a child in the way they should go. When they're old, they will not depart from it. I think that's very important, is we have to make sure as parents and as adults, we're giving them a strong foundation. I think about when I went off to college, the very thing that held me in a place that didn't have a lot of churches, and at least churches that I liked, that I had to do my own worship. I had to do my own prayer. I had to learn how to read my own Bible while I was at college, because I couldn't get it there. And so I could stream. They were kind of doing streaming back in the day when I went to college, but not really. Like I would listen to the messages. I think back in the day, they just recorded them and then they uploaded them later. So I was able to do that. But if I didn't have that, then, or if I missed something, then they usually did it a week behind. So I had to get my own. But I think a big problem we have, like Ellie says, we're not cultivating our children to have their own. We're not cultivating them to know God for themselves. And so when they get out into the world, they're like, what's happening? Or that's why it's so easy for the enemy to get them with the little shiny things or the drinking and all that. Not saying I didn't do it, but my foundation was very, very strong. What about you, Bryce? What do you, like, even if you grown up, because you still love the Lord? Because were you raised Christian?
Yeah.
I never asked.
100%.
Yeah.
So I used to be heavily involved in all the churches that I've ever been a member of.
Mm-hmm.
While I was still a teenager and a young adult. So I was church choir for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
I was in many youth groups. I was in the last church that I was actually, when I was a young adult, early 20s, I was part of the men's health and fitness group. So that was something that I liked to carry. But yeah, to answer your question directly, yes, I've always been raised Christian. And I think one of the most important things to understand is that I didn't have, after the age of 15, parental guidance or influences. And so it does definitely help in order to be able to have some sort of foundation, to have already explored the culture just a little bit in order to be able to know what the values are. And a lot of those values need to be received properly with the proper guidance, and you shouldn't feel as if you're being forced to do something. So you should feel as if you've accepted it on your own terms. And when you accept that on your own terms, that's what carried me from the age of 15 up until today. Because at the age of 15, that's when I had, like, both of my parents were not in my life anymore at that point. So imagine having a 15-year-old who decided to just stick with church and still go to church and attend all the services and still be a part of Bible study on Wednesdays. And even while I was moving in throughout my careers, different cities, the first thing that I would usually do is find the church home. That was one of my biggest priorities. I didn't work on Sundays for a long time until I had to when I gained upper management level jobs. But even then I would still prioritize online services when it became prominent too. So yeah, definitely I think it's important because you have to stick with it, right? And if you and Ellie's right when she says you have the ability to be able to choose at that point when you're children. When they become adults, you just have to hope that you've invested enough influence into them for them to be able to make the right decisions and continue with the foundations that you set up for them. It's not up to the parents and it's not up to the church themselves, because the gift of free will is a real thing, right? We control certain things to an extent. However, they do have the decision to be able to make their own decisions when they get older. And you just have to hope that what you've taught them by leading through example has influenced them enough to continue to stick with it.
So then, what are some things do you think that, as adults, and even Ellie, what do you think has helped you, build your relationship with Christ? Like for me, I always fuss at parents because they don't have kids praying. Like we always have to pray in my house. My mama never was the only one praying. Like, what are things that you have found that have made it easier or that has allowed you to be comfortable with building your relationship with Christ? What has your mom and family done that's made it easy for you?
I believe that what made it easier for me to build a relationship with Christ was constantly being around Christian things. Like I'm going to a Christian camp this summer. While it doesn't focus entirely only on Christianity, it still is a Christian camp because we do pray before we eat. We pray to the flag when we wake up, and we have the option to go do a Bible study. So I believe that, and then I also do my youth winter camp with GAMI. I'm heavily involved with GAMI's church and AME Zion, and we try to go to church every Sunday, but I'm not. So I think just being around a lot of Christian things, having a Christian friend group, even if they might not be heavily into it, like going to church every day, praying every morning, we are still able to pray together. We are still able to have a quick little Bible study together. It might not be like we're going to church every day with each other, but we are able to talk about God with each other, and I think that helps a lot to have people that relate to you with struggles you might have in Christianity, instead of telling people your struggles and having them push it away to just, well, you chose this life, so you can't complain about it. So, and also having having Christian parents also helps. With my whole family being Christian, like I said, it's easier to talk to people and share my struggles with Christianity.
Nice. So do you feel like that you have it's a safe space? Because I feel like that's important for a lot of people. We always talk about safe spaces here in mental health, of having somewhere where, like, even like you said, you can talk about not just the good parts but the bad parts, or even with your friends, with them being Christian, like you have a safe space to go, okay, like I'm dealing with this today, what have y'all done with it, or is this something that I'm feeling by myself in? Especially with, I know you guys have the influence of music, like of, hey, I can't listen to this person, or I can't wear this today because it just doesn't feel comfortable with my values. Like having people that understand your struggles or your convictions, as they say.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, what about you, Bryce? What I think for you, because you said also that like after 15 you had like the good foundation of it. So what about that foundation like made it easier to be where you didn't walk away but kind of drew in? How did your parents cultivate that for you? Because you did a lot, but you like had the relationship, building that.
I think the way that I sustained was a lot of self-reflecting. I think one of the biggest things that I learned after I had no parental guidance is I gathered the right mentorship. So my influences didn't just stop just because my parents weren't in my life. I stayed in church for a good while. In order to be able to, I had the proper mentors. I had people who were doing the things that I wanted to do with my life in church, and those are the people that I sought guidance from. And I think that's important. I think that without some sort of guidance, you will stray away because there's too many influences, too many people, too much noise, too much influences tugging you in different directions. And without having the foundation that I already had growing up in the church, I already knew where I needed to go in order to continue to seek guidance after my parents had passed away. So I had that directive already given to me. So I sought my pastors, I sought my deacons, I sought other ministers, and I continued to keep that trend going throughout every area of down south that I lived in. And when I moved, I found a church home that I connected with, I found ministers that I connected with, and I found people who were already knowledgeable, and they were in a spiritual space that I wanted to get to, and those were the people that I left or gathered around and left around me to be able to seek guidance from, not just about Christianity, but day-to-day life, day-to-day questions, relationship guidance, being able to do the right things when it came to financial stability. I had to do everything on my own while I was still even taking care of my little brother, so I needed to figure out where I needed to get my life to in order to be able to get influence for him. So maintaining a good connection with my mentors was extremely important. It made me the person who I needed to be in order to be able to make conscious decisions that were backed by wisdom and experience to be able to move forward in life. And I think one of the biggest things aside from that was reflecting. I think a lot of people lack the ability to apply what they learn. And we all know that we need to, but not everyone does it. I 100% believe that. Application is probably the most difficult thing to master when it comes to Christianity, because you have so many people who are going to tell you that you need to be doing this, need to be doing that, and you can't do this and you can't do that. But you don't know if these things are true just because someone else is living that life. You need to see if what they're telling you to apply works for you. And application is going to be the one way for you to be able to do that. And self-reflection. You need to be able to heal from any traumas that you have gone through. I went through years of therapy. Made sure my brother went through years of therapy. I paid for it out of pocket. I didn't have any health insurance or anything like that, but I knew that I needed it because my mentors told me. See, that's where the mentor thing comes into play. I was able to sit down with them. My pastors and ministers were never out of reach to where I couldn't communicate with them one-on-one. I had all their phone numbers. I can call them at any time of the day when I was going through something mentally. I was able to reach out to someone. I always had somebody in my life who had my best interest at heart, who gave me the proper guidance and a way to be able to apply it. I think one of the most effective ways to end a conversation when giving advice to another Christian from another Christian is telling them how to apply it. Don't just give me a Bible scripture and tell me that that's what God wants me to do. How am I supposed to use it effectively? So I can see the influences come to fruition. Because yes, we do have faith, but we need some results here and there at some point, right?
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of believers continue to have that faith because of the results that they gain.
And I think that's part of the testimony part of it, when you can take what you've been told and actually like put it into practice. That's why we stress so much with kids, and I'm always fussing at parents, like, your kids need to have, just like Ellie said, they need to have their own part of their walk. Like, if they're supposed to be praying when they get out on the road, why do they only start when they get out the house? Why are you always the one that prays? Or if they're supposed to be reading their Bible, like, why are you the only one that reads the Bible? Let them do a Bible study or have a devotional for that day. Like, when Ellie was staying with us for, when she was transitioning up here, when you guys was transitioning from Houston, like, one of the things we did in the car was I made Ellie pray. Like, I'm not going to be the only one praying for the beginning of your day. This is your day. Like, this is not just about my day. This is your day also. And that's what we need to, just like you said, teach them how, or be taught how to apply. But I also like what you said about mentorship. Are we actually taking our children under our wing and actually, like, pouring into them, not just telling? Because a lot of us tell, but are we actually, like, pouring and having, like, interaction with them? Because I think that's also what makes Ellie able to, why she is able to be a Christian in this age, is because you guys keep communication open with her. She has a voice, even though you guys keep her respectful, but she has a voice where she has a question or she's going through something, then she knows that she can come to her mom and her dad and they're not gonna, like, yell at her, or it's not going to be from persecution with it. Like, you guys really listen. She really feels heard when it comes to her walk and the things that she's going through.
Right. I can't take credit for anything past the last 2 years because her mom has always done that well. And based off of how she grew up, when raising Ellie, she made it so that Ellie was able to communicate freely. And it didn't matter if it was anything disrespectful or anything like that, because, you know, half the stuff that Ellie was saying, I'd be like, nah, ain't no way. But her mom gave her the ability to understand that I'm not going to be attacking you based off of what you're saying, and I'm going to give you the ability to speak freely. And I think that's probably one thing that we didn't have when we were growing up, because I knew that if I said anything out of pocket to my dad, and that police belt is gonna come out the closet real quick. So we had to watch what we said, and I definitely didn't feel like I was able to speak freely to my dad or with my mom, because they had a different idea of what discipline and tolerance was back then. So her mom did a very good job of being able to manifest that in a way that was healthy.
Yes.
So we grew up with a lot of unhealthy ways of communication and unresolved trauma. So but now we make it so that even with our family meetings that we do, we have a little a section where one of us prays. It depends on whose turn is it, and we have a devotional that we do. We have a devotional section.
Nice.
So we do have things that we keep. And one of our rules in those family meetings is that it's open space. So you're free to be able to open conversations that you would feel you need advice from, but might be a little bit more private. We've had many sensitive conversations with Ellie already, and we're gonna continue to have those conversations because we've created that healthy environment. I don't think there's ever been a point in time where she felt like she couldn't tell us something.
Yeah. What about you, Ellie? What do you think? Because I think for you, like you do have, your mom has given you that freedom to talk. And how has that helped? Because I know you and your grandma, you know, being with Gammy, sometimes it can be different where she had to learn how to handle your voice when you have been so free. When with your mom, you haven't had that problem. Like, how has that also helped influence your walk with Christ of having a voice?
I think it helped because I feel like I could tell my mom anything. Like, I know a lot of people that I've told them, me and my mom we talk to each other very freely, and they just look at me shocked because it's not the norm.
Mm-hmm.
And until recently, I didn't realize it wasn't normal to talk with your mom or talk with your family about like everything. I didn't realize that some children felt like they were going to be judged if they talked to their parents about something going on mentally or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my mom creating such an open space for me has definitely boosted my confidence. So I know that I have a voice. I don't have to shut up
Mm-hmm.
not when an adult tells me to, but I don't have to watch how I don't have to step on nails when I'm talking to people, because I know that what I'm saying matters. Even if it might not be something they agree with, it still matters for me to tell them, hey, when you do this, I didn't appreciate that. And that has helped me really grow in my Christianity, because I know if I have a question, if I'm like wondering, why did God do this, or why do you think God did this, I know that I can come to my mom and I can talk about it without her getting mad at me and being like, well, you shouldn't question God, he does what he does for a reason. And we can have actual conversations about our difference in opinion on, well, like what's happening in the Bible, what happened why did God sink the town and save a few people? Why does God take such a step back when it comes to human desires, such as murder and death? I can talk to her about that, and I can have full conversations with her about that without having to worry about her shutting me down and being like, well, God did this because God is God. We don't question him. So I think that has also been a very prominent thing in my journey in Christianity.
Nice. No, I think that's important, like, because I do appreciate that how Ellie has a voice. Like, her mama always says that Ellie acts so much like my mom, which has been on the show before, and Keita's always said that she wanted to raise Ellie the way that my mom should have been raised. Because her and Ellie have such an opinionated voice and such wisdom, but my mom has to get comfortable in that, because so long people tried to shut her up or, made her feel bad for having an opinion. And one of the things Keita always says is because she sees so much of my mom in Ellie, she wanted to make sure she raised her to always be confident and comfortable in that voice and not see it as a negative. Because my mom, when she had to use her voice, she felt it as she was criticizing or coming from a place of persecution, and no one championed her voice when she was younger. So I'm glad that your mom has allowed you to have a voice and to tell you it's okay to have it, because she most definitely has a voice. She most definitely has a voice. But also, I feel like your mom and Bryce have done a good job of stewarding your voice, because you do have boundaries in your voice.
Yes.
They most definitely make sure that you're respectful and have to be in order when you have a voice, which I think is also like some of the issue we have, where I feel like parents have went too far left, where they're like, you can have a voice with no boundaries, and so now we have all these people, the kids in school, and you're like, wait a minute, why are you disrespecting a teacher or coming against authority, versus having like the boundary of, hey, you can have a voice, but it needs to have with this tone, and you have to listen, and things of that nature, like how to make sure we're, having the right amount of each, of voice and identity, but also boundaries and authority of being comfortable with submitting to authority?
Yeah, so we did a lot of we had a lot of family meeting discussions about that, where we had to make improvements on communication because there was the ability to communicate, but it wasn't structured. So when we started having our family meetings, we talked a lot about miscommunication and misunderstanding when it came to communication. So that was one of the biggest things, and one of the things that I implemented was making sure that there was one particular boundary that needed to be in place that wasn't in place. And I think that when I was, because I came from the outside of their relationship, right? So I was able to come in and see, hey, you guys have a great friendship, right? But there is no boundary from where the mother is identified as the mother and then the daughter is identified as the daughter, right? So I think that there was more of a cultivation of friendship, which is great. However, there needs to be boundaries, and that's where the level of respect and tolerance comes into play. So there's a little thing that happens when guys get married, right? And any guy will tell you this. It doesn't matter who it is. If someone says anything crazy to your wife, you will always feel like getting at the side of their neck. And that happens with me a lot. So that's why I'm like, hey, there's certain things that you let Ellie say that she is allowed to say, but it's the way that it's communicated. So there needs to be a boundary. And Ellie probably didn't know this, but some of the things that she would say would hurt her mother's feelings, but she would never speak on it. So that was the issue with communication. And I'm like, yeah, we had to have those conversations, those difficult conversations, because they needed to be had. And it's not that she didn't want to talk about it, her mom, right? It's that she didn't want to do anything that would jeopardize the freedom of speech that was already cultivated, and she didn't know how to communicate it at the time. But I think that we've gotten to a point where we have those boundaries now, and I think that you need that there in order to be able to identify, hey, there's a way that you speak to people in general, right? Because we have these qualities that we want to showcase. However, Christianity is all about being a great human being, a good human being in general. That's why we have those lessons. That's why we have, the whole book of Proverbs is literally about being a good human being, mostly for men, right? Because it's a father talking to their children. And so that's one of my favorite books. I get a lot of my lessons from that book of the Bible. So I think boundaries are extremely, extremely important. And so we had to develop a way for Ellie to be able to communicate what she wanted to say, but we needed to put it in a more adult environment, because I came into her life when, I think she was 10 years old. I've been mentoring Ellie and fathering Ellie for 5 years now. So it's important to be able to transition with those age differences, because 10 is different from 15 and 16, because now you have a wider range of thoughts coming into your mind. You have more things that you want to say, but there's a way to be able to say, there's a way to speak to your parents rather than there's a way to, as opposed to talking to your friends, right? There's a way to talk to your mom who you have this great relationship with, but now you have to understand that there's a way to communicate with an adult as you start transitioning into that age group as well. So I think realizing that your words have an impact with your voice being, you gain so much power when you realize that you have a voice. And I think that people might act tough, but they need to understand that your words do have an impact on people that are emotionally connected to you. And so just like how, if you were to go ask your mom, hey, does my hair look nice? If your mom says, no, it doesn't look nice at all, it's crazy. That's going to hurt your feelings just because of the fact that you have such an emotional tie to your mom. And this works for anybody, for any person talking to another person, anybody who you have an emotional connection with, you have to watch what you say to them. Yes. It doesn't have to be as if you're walking on eggshells, but there's a level of respect that you have to have for that person in order to be able to communicate with them without having them feel as if they're being attacked or triggered by something that they might not have recovered from emotionally. And I think that the way that Ellie talks to her mom with the way that you guys were raised is extremely important to her mom. And so that part of the relationship is important. But when we started setting those boundaries, their communication has improved drastically. It's even better now. There's a lot of things that used to take place with miscommunication where we're like, hey, okay, let's not get upset. I think you guys just need to go back and talk about it. Let's talk about it in the family meeting. I mean, me and Ellie have had arguments. We've had like one argument, not arguments. We had one. And we just went to a meeting, had a family meeting, and we sat down and talked about it. That was it. So we have healthy ways of communicating. That's what I cultivated.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's no conflict that isn't resolved through conversation. This is extremely important because it helps her learn how to use her voice in constructive ways.
Mm-hmm.
Not just being able to say what you say because you feel a certain way, but you have to understand how to read the room and read emotional reaction so you can actually find the words and use your vocabulary to be able to explain how you're feeling. But also understand that what you're feeling is important enough for you to be able to express it.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got to have enough self-control to be able to express it appropriately so that you're not escalating the situation if it's a problem or anything like that. So yeah, I think we did a very good job with that, and I think we're continuing to do really well because we haven't had any issues with communication. It's always, hey, let's just re-communicate this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's set some boundaries and create some laws that should not be broken, and I think it's worked out really well.
Nice.
Yeah, let me forward me this address to notice why he's texting me.
All right, give it to him.
He must be here. I can get him in a minute.
All right, perfect.
Oh, he asked what floor it is. Sorry, y'all.
Perfect. All right, everyone. Well, this was a good conversation. Like, how we like this, Ellie? Yeah.
I like it. Sorry, I'll be
The teenage reaction. I liked it. It was cool. Well, guys, thank you so much. Like, so I guess what we're gonna wrap up and say, like, just make sure that you are, just like Ellie said, we're making sure we have spaces where their voices are heard, making sure that we make spaces where they're getting mentorship and being actually poured into, as Bryce said, but also making sure that we're making them cultivate their relationship. We're making them pray. We're making them read their Bible. We're having them be the one involved in their relationship because, like Ellie said, that's what, and Bryce even said, that is what makes sure that when they get out into the world, it actually sticks with them, that foundation that we as adults, we as parents have to give and pour into them. So, guys, I just want to thank everyone for joining us today, and we will see you guys next week. And actually, you'll see Bryce because we're doing 2 episodes today. We'll see y'all next week. So, you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Bye.